To be a creative person in such times. Picture this, okay? You decide to go out to your favorite cafe to draw, write, or play music or instruments. If you're the type of person who plays instruments at a cafe, I don't know. I don't judge. You do you, babes. And as you come to your conclusion of your finished piece, you lean back to admire it, mulling over the idea of possibly putting this out in the world and sharing over Instagram and all other social media platforms. But then all of a sudden you hear the voice. It sounds just like you, cadence and everything, except it's making very crude remarks about your creation with such disdain and disrespect. How dare it? Meet your inner critic. Hi, I'm Chaotic Raven. I did change my name a little recently. And today we're going to discuss being an artist versus having your inner critic and how to kind of like coexist together to enjoy your craft once more. I used to refer to mine as my internal demon. Obviously, I don't do that anymore. And we'll elaborate a little bit why later in this video. No creative is a stranger to their own individual critic. Some say it's there as a balance because how can one create when you can't destroy yourself? I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm being a little dramatic. Internal critic can definitely ruin a good time, and especially when it's left unchecked. It can make us feel so dissatisfied with our work that over time we just lose our sense of artistic drive, and that some may just even decide to abandon their path altogether, just in fear of never feeling content. This has happened to me for sure. My inner critic is possibly the cruelest mistress I've ever had the displeasure of being embedded with. I feel like she somehow detached herself from Satan and then she attached herself onto me like a symbiote. But you know, I don't get to look like a hot venom babe. So every time I would pick up a pencil, that voice would chime in. It would berate everything I drew. It never pointed out anything I did well, of course. Why would it ever do that? But only what I did wrong. It would parade how I would never be good enough, that at my age I should be excelling at this level, even though, and then I wasn't. So it got so extreme that I just gave up. For 4 years to be exact. It was a long time of disassociating from my authentic self and going through my days ignoring that creative itch, even though it was always present. And simply I just missed it. I was just scared to pick it up again. It's weird when people see you drawing, like, oh, you're an artist. And then I would just automatically respond with, yeah, I love drawing, but I also fucking hate it. It's just it's my demise. But I finally decided to pull out my sketchbook, brush the dust off, and decided to begin again. Side tangent, okay? People who think drawing is a talent, it's not, because even though you have the information and you know how on how an anatomy works, it's gone. Okay, that skill is gone. You have to develop it again, and it takes some time. Okay, that's a whole process, a whole stressor. I'm not even going to discuss about that. Anyways, back to the regular content. So I opened my laptop, chose that perfect Pinterest reference, and drew my very first lines again. And that's when it echoed through. Again with a silly endeavor. Honestly, it can be exhausting. And I knew I needed to find a better way to be an artist and to coexist with my inner critic. It's funny how like most of us, we kind of like Google ways to like silence that voice or ways to dethrone it even. But I find that this just enables the critic to push more, to start yelling even. The first step that I took was to determine the origin of our critical demon. Was it birthed in something catastrophic or a trauma at a smaller scale? This is, of course, a reflection. Does a voice repeat phrases said to you from a parent, a sibling, or a teacher? Or perhaps moments when we were repeatedly belittled or ignored. Those moments can plant a seed in our minds, which then breathes into our inner critic as we become older. Our inner critic is just a response from a past hurt. It's a younger version of you that's wounded. It's why every time you try to put yourself out into the world, or when you decide to undertake a new skill, you hear that voice pleading you to stop. Yes, it can be cruel, but truthfully, they're trying to protect you from potential ridicule. What did I do to help befriend my inner critic? This is what I did. And it may sound silly, yes, but I decided to give her a name or even just envision what she looks like. If you're an artist, you can even draw them out, or if you're a writer, just write a description of what they would look like to you. This is similar to like moments when you feel intense emotion. They always say don't repress it. It's best to name the emotion out loud and allow yourself a small amount of time to feel that emotion. Naming the inner critic, it Honestly, it's exactly how you would dispel demons, by the way, just so you know. So I feel like it has that kind of same power. I personally see the inner critic as Little Raven, the little raven that was told repeatedly by her sibling that her art was too flat or would never get better. The one that never got her parents to take really interest in anything she drew, or how she was always secondary to childhood's best friend's artwork, even being compared to it. Envisioning a younger version of you, I find automatically opens yourself to self compassion because how can you be angry at cute little you? They're just doing their best, so be kind, understand. This process is to denounce our need to demonize our inner critic and learn to befriend them. I know I've referred to them as demons many times, but this is the last time I'll do it. Learning how to respond to them. So, this process will take some time. We are learning to become deliberate with our reactions and training ourselves to not be so reactive. When you hear them chiming in while you're creating, instead of trying to push them back, invite them. Be like, hello, friend, I hear you. What do you need? You're just actively listening. You're not going to absorb anything they're saying. You're not going to take in the remarks or inputs, okay? We're just listening. It's kind of like listening to a customer that makes really bad jokes that you've heard so many damn times. Oh, there's no price tag. I guess it's free. You're just acknowledging them, okay? Slowly, their voice will latch itself. Their domineering voice won't be so prevalent, and our goal is just, again, to not resist, not to silence, but to listen, to affirm to them that everything will be okay, that they're safe, you're safe, and that this is the process. It won't be easy, but over time, we'll be making small improvements. The next step, now, this step has helped me substantially when it came to going back to my journey in drawing. I really have no idea what to call this step, but let's just dive in anyways. Who cares? So after completing a drawing, it could either be, a finished piece or whatever. I would allow my critic to highlight an area I needed to work on. For example, I need to work on more confident lines. I would follow this up with highlighting two things I did really well. I always like to end it off with a positive as opposed to leaving a negative towards the end because I feel like that kind of sticks with us. So I'll be like, I like how I drew the eyes, and I'm getting better at drawing dynamic hand poses. Hooray, that's a win. Like, have you ever partaken in the act of drawing and then sometimes like you will go away to go pee or something, and when you come back to your unintended artwork, it just looks completely different from what you last left off? Like before it was actually decent, and you come back like, what is this monstrosity? Yeah, I suffer through that a lot. I just want to know if anyone else does. Full experience of drawing, I realized I never once celebrate anything I did or anything I drew. So I want you to try it. Every time you finish a piece, whether it's a practice drawing or a completed piece, allow the critic to provide one insight on an area you can actually study more on and follow up with two things you really admire. Train ourselves to accept criticism not as a negative thing, but as a way to grow, but also learning to train ourselves to highlight the things we did and like to celebrate ourselves because there are things worth celebrating, guys. Okay, I'm just saying we're just not used to, we're just not trained to see in that perspective. We're not silencing the critic. We are providing a space. We just don't want to be bombarded by it anymore. We're developing some compassion towards ourselves and our craft and our inner critic. Slowly over time, I am finally learning to enjoy the process again. It's weird but refreshing because I've spent so much time dreading everything I made. Obviously, this is not an overnight success for me. It won't be for you, but you know, it is definitely an ongoing journey, but it is taking root and I can finally feel myself actually enjoying the process. And I hope that one day you too can slowly befriend your inner critic, reignite the joys of creating. All it takes is that one step, building momentum till it becomes routine. Show compassion to that voice and to yourself. Don't repress them. Learn to highlight areas you did fantastic on and never ever stop creating. Now, I want to know, what advice would you offer to your fellow artists struggling with their inner critic? Let me know in the comments below and let's just have a great conversation. Now, I'm off to play and finish some Silent Hill 2. I've been putting that on hold because I'm not scared. I'm a big girl. Ta-ta!